Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is Friday, and to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from high atop Rock House 1 at the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Hope your week was good. If not, guess what? It's time for the weekend. You're just that much closer. It's just hours away for you. Lots to get to and lots coming up as the college football playoffs rolled on last night in an absolutely incredible game. Fun to watch. First half a little slow, but man, did the second half make up for it. A game that really had momentum swings back and forth. Just a fun game to watch as a fan, I have to tell you. As long as you weren't a Penn State fan, ultimately, because Notre Dame comes out a winner. I immediately sent a tweet out after the game that so Indiana beats the reigning national champion and the national runner-up this year, and their only two losses on this season were to this year's national champion and the national runner-up. Not a bad resume for the Hoosiers that didn't belong in the college football playoffs at 11-2 with losses only to Ohio State and Notre Dame. And don't count your chickens before they're hatched on Ohio State making it. And that was probably a little premature to send that out, because I thought that Penn State was going to win that game last night. Not only, and that was before the game started. And that solidified once the game was going, because Penn State, Tom Allen's offense, where I said they're putting those golden helmets, locking them up like they're in Fort Knox. But that changed. That changed as soon as they came out. Notre Dame came out in the second half. Don't know what Marcus Freeman said, but I think he said go out there and kick their ass, because that's pretty much what Notre Dame did. They scored right off the bat, tied the game, or the game was already tied, to take the lead. And but it went back and forth a little bit. But some costly turnovers in that game, especially at the end. Specifically at the end. Drew Alar throws a pick, and Notre Dame able to move it just far enough to get a nice little 41-yard field goal. So Jason says, before people get caught up with the IU football narrative that they only got beat by 10 against Notre Dame, remember it was 27-3 before meaningless garbage points were scored by the Hoosiers. Well, I didn't mention anything about 10. Only thing I said was their only losses were to the national champion and the national runner-up, because that means I need Ohio State to win tonight to make that come true. Hey, they got better. I don't know that Notre Dame was all hype. If I said that was early on. But hey, Penn State and Notre Dame both, their offenses got so much better at the end of the season. I definitely did not think Notre Dame was going to go this far. I definitely did not think that Notre Dame was going to beat Penn State. And I absolutely didn't think that after that first half. And hey, I was wrong. A lot of people were wrong, but I was one of them. And that's okay. I don't mind. That's not the first time in my life, and it will not be the last. I assure you, I can take my lumps. Congratulations to Marcus Freeman, first of all. He's a hell of a coach. He has done a hell of a job. And boy, is he the right guy for Notre Dame to have. He'd be the right guy for anybody to have. But Notre Dame has the right guy there. Penn State fans, on the other hand, they are not going to be happy with James Franklin because, basically because they didn't win. Now, one thing I saw last night, the pass interference call that went against Notre Dame, by the way, and gave Penn State a late touchdown. That was, that was a very shaky call, and I don't like that. But what was worse, people were throwing, they're aluminum, but beers onto the field. Anybody that is so stupid, ignorant, and uneducated to do that, they need to be just take a shot to the onions and kicked out of sports. That's just ignorant. Ignorant. Totally ignorance. Yes, and Brian, that's funny because Brian commented that Michelob Ultra got some free advertising. That's the first thing that I was thinking because they put a big camera shot on this Mick Ultra aluminum bottle or whatever that was laying in the end zone. And that is exactly what I was thinking, except for it was upside down. I don't think that matters much. But Jason said that the refs tried to steal the game for the Big Ten and they couldn't get it done. Well, I don't know about that, but I think that the officiating, because I saw something from someone else, that the officiating has been pretty bad throughout the playoffs. And with all of the replay, and gosh, replay is good and bad because when it takes them 15 minutes to decide something off a replay, you don't have what you need. It should either be there or it's not there. If you can see it, bam. If you can't, you look at it a couple times, but that's it. So that's that. Hey, big program today. Todd Leary, of course, joining us here in this hour. We're going to talk about Indiana as they pick up and review the South Carolina game and preview tomorrow's road game at Iowa. The start of a very, very rough stretch of games for this Hoosier basketball team that's probably going to make or break their season. Their net ranking right now is in the, their KenPom number has moved up a little bit, but we'll see how that helps. But looking forward to it. Zach Osterman, of course, on later on. We've got plenty to get to. Bowl game ratings. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, but you remember how everybody said that the playoffs were gonna just destroy the bowl games? Bowl game ratings are at an all-time high. All-time high. Where did my notes go that I had for? I don't know, but I'll pull those up after the break. Todd Leary is going to join us We'll hear from Mike Woodson and Fran McCaffrey. Hope your Friday has started off well. And if not, you're in the right place, because we're going to get it rolling for you. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio and a return to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Ravesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday. And you know what that means? The great Todd Leary, the shot father from myjumpshot.com, where you should go if you have anyone in your life that is looking for or needs help with the basketball fundamentals, shooting, just all fundamentals all around. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the sex. It's a non-discrimination. He doesn't care if it's a frog, baby. You got a frog that wants to learn how to shoot? Todd can make him shoot it. That would be something. That would be one of the greatest halftime. That's what you should do. Todd, welcome Todd Leary, please. Thanks a lot for being with us as always, man.
My pleasure.
I was just thinking.
I'm curious to hear what this is I'm supposed to do.
I don't even know what. I was just trying to think. I'm trying to think of what train some kind. Get a monkey and train a monkey to shoot free throws.
Yeah, a halftime show. I should just pick some random grandma out of the crowd, and as long as she could get the ball to the rim, I could. In a halftime's worth of time, I could turn her into 70% free throw shooter.
I think that, like the guys that they come that gets you got the Simon Says guy who he's pretty comical. He's got that shtick down. He eliminates people so fast.
Did you see the mentalist guy they had on the College Game Day?
No.
Oh man, he was.
Oh,
awesome.
I knew. I did. I couldn't hear it.
Awesome.
I couldn't hear what was going on. I'd like to go back and read. Oh yeah, because he was blowing their minds.
Yeah, it was.
Where
crazy.
was that? I'm trying to think where that was.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I remember that there. He was pulling his shirt off, and he had all the schools that they were talking about.
Oh, it was nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm hoping we're not getting the snow or they're forecasting.
I saw that. I'm like, are you kidding me? 4 more inches? Yeah, we need that. I'm sure that was not fun for you this week.
No. You know the vehicle that I drive, and you know the hill that I live at the bottom of. So it's not easy to get up that hill.
Yeah, because these roads were not the cleanest. Nope. When I didn't go out until Indiana's game against USC. I went to the store last Saturday. I'm not a great planner because I'm usually thinking, just always in the moment working. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to the store Saturday because there ain't going to be crap left on Sunday. So went to the store Saturday, made chili on Sunday, and sat back and watched it all happen.
Yeah,
but
you were one of the smart ones, that's for sure.
That's a rarity. That those words don't usually go with me. But Indiana had a game against USC. They start out slow, but then they come around. And actually, if and you can't just cherry pick, I get that. But if you take out Mackenzie Mbako's just bad night, 0 for 8 night, he only played 15 minutes. They shot 50-something% from the field. The 3-point shooting still sucked. The team was like 1 of 12 or 1 of 2 or 12 or something. But your boy Luke Goody, I saw him stroke one, and I'm like, ooh, little bit of Pat Graham right there. Pat would probably admit this, but Luke is a little more athletic than Pat was. But Pat was not non-athletic. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
going to disagree with you. Pat was incredibly athletic.
Really?
Pat was very surprisingly athletic. Yes.
Maybe it was because he's always dealing with his foot.
He was athletic from a jump up and down standpoint. He wasn't the fleetest of foot. Like he was not that quick.
Yeah,
I think Luke Goody moves a little faster, but
that's
from a vertical standpoint,
that's probably what I mean.
Pat was more athletic than most people think.
But he had one of the smoothest strokes that I've ever seen. It was like butter, hot butter.
I'll tell you, I learned a lot from watching him shoot. Like he is way more technically sound than me or the average person, and I learned a lot by just watching him and how simple he made it. And that he's one of the very first people I ever saw with kind of an effortless jump shot. There's no extra motion, and when you watch that, you're just like, how would everyone not try to eliminate as much motion in their shot as possible? And it's, Pat was a great, he was one of the best standstill shooters. You got somebody to shoot a 17-foot jump shot in the world, I put him up there as a guy I'd pick.
And, originally he was from Borden. I mean, you're always cracking on us Southern Indiana people. And originally he was from Borden. So, boy, if he'd have come up through there, you would have really cracked on him. But but did you ever ask him where did that come from?
I did ask him, and he did not have
an answer. Huh?
With my jump shot, research and stuff I did throughout, trying to learn more about people's shots and how they learned how to shoot. Pat was one of the very first people I talked to, and he did not have some person that he could think back on and said, this is the person who actually taught me how to shoot it. He didn't have your typical story of my dad or my uncle or, a junior high coach or something like that.
That's amazing.
He was just natural at it.
That's amazing because he is just fluid. It's just butter. Yep. But anyway, Luke kind of looked like that a little bit. His shots
and you can see,
smooth.
Yeah, you can see. I mean, I can see at least like he's a guy that has good touch. he just needs to be a volume shooter. It doesn't matter. Mackenzie Mbako is the same way. I thought I really hated the way Mackenzie started the game, because it does seem like when he gets off to a rough start, he has a tough time fighting out of it. But when he gets off to a great start, he does double down on that and feeds off of that. So, between Goody and Mbako, if you had told me that Mbako would have the line that he had in that game, I would have said there was a decent likelihood they lost that game. And so I think it's a credit. It's a credit to the team. Like they're figuring themselves out. I mean, we just said it a couple of weeks ago, right before Big Ten play started, that this team, like, I can't identify. I don't know what their identity is. Like, I can't really tell you. And I wouldn't say today. I can definitely say, well, yeah, this is their identity. But they're starting to form it. Like, you're starting to see it, and this is what coaches enjoy. I'm not speaking for Coach Woodson. I know coaches enjoy seeing their players and their teams get better. And I think we would all be remiss if we didn't admit this team is playing better. Like, they're learning some stuff about themselves and playing better.
That's not disagreeable there, and I agree. But when it comes to identity, he was asked about that very question.
Coach, earlier this year you said you didn't know what your identity was, and then tonight you just said playing Indiana basketball got you guys back into this game. So what is Indiana basketball right now?
Well, when we're scrappy and defending and rebounding the ball as a unit and able to get out and play a little faster instead of staying in the half-court game, that's Indiana basketball. And we've had some glimpses of it off and on. I thought these last 3-4 games we're playing much better now, shooting the ball better from the three-point line. We didn't shoot it well tonight, but we had good looks, and we got to continue to take those shots when we have them.
There you go. And it's funny that because what you mentioned a minute ago, I was thinking the same thing. I go, well, that game was good and bad, but there was a lot more good than bad. The bad was Mackenzie Mbako, and I agree with you. He not only does he not fight through it when he starts having those nights, he seems to sulk, just go within himself and sulk. And he was sitting on the bench with a towel over his head. And that's the one thing that he's got to fight through. You can't sulk. You've got to fight through it. Because everybody knows he's a freaking shooter. My God, he's butter too. Sometimes it just, for whatever reasons, not happening. And you also mentioned that, daggone it, Luke Goody being a volume shooter. Well, now he's getting that opportunity. Right. I posted something the other day about, with Malik Renew out, and this has nothing to do with Malik Renew per se. Indiana is now forced to run one big, insert Luke Goody, gives you wider spacing, wider lanes, a little bit more free flowing, and the 3-point shooting went back down the other night. But a big part of that was because Mackenzie Mbako just had a horrible night. But everybody else was not great either. But everybody did something to pick up. Miles Rice was 9 of 11 at the free throw line. He was only 5 of 13 from the field, but still ended up with 19 points because he hit his free throws. Luke Goody, he hit the 3-point shots, 4 out of 5. Umar Ballo, 23 and 8, but he was 5 of 5 at the free throw line, Todd, and 8 of 9. Was it 8 of 9 he finished up overall? 9 of 11 from the field. And then Trey Galloway chipped in 11. He was 5 of 11. So you'll take that as well. And then you get the points off the bench. Bryson Tucker, who had hit a freshman wall of sorts, kind of bounced back. He had 9 points. And that was just it was good to see the rest of everybody else really kind of try to absorb Mackenzie Mbako's bad night.
Yeah, and there's going to be nights when it's that way. You never plan for it because you never know when it's going to happen. But I've kind of noticed this, and I think I'm just speaking saying he probably notices this or recognizes this. But Mackenzie Mbako, when he doesn't get off to a good shooting start, when he struggles at the beginning, a lot of times when he comes out, he doesn't end up coming back in that first half. And I think he feels that. I think and that's why, I did not understand this as much until my later years at IU, but there is definitely something to this. And when you're a guy who's known as a shooter, if you get yourself involved in the game in other ways, and the best way, I'm coming from a guard, so it's weird to say this, but Mackenzie Mbako is easily talented and athletic enough to do this. But getting yourself involved with a rebound, or getting yourself involved with a great switch on defense, or doing something that gets you involved in the game, it makes a big difference. It really does. When you just start out 0 for 7 like he did, you're right. He sulked a little bit. He didn't, if someone had been in his ear, they would have said, hey, go get 3 rebounds in this next stint. Go get 3 rebounds. Don't worry about your shot. It's going to go in eventually. And just get yourself involved in other ways and help the team out in other ways. And Mackenzie is very capable of that. So, there's other ways that these guys can get about it. I thought Kanan Carlisle, I heard Coach Woodson kind of reference him in the halftime interview, saying he thought he played pretty well. I did not think he played well at all. And I'm not saying that to be mean. Like, I think Kanan Carlisle is a big part of this team, but I think he's in a slump. That's a guy who, not just a shooting slump.
He was 1 of 7.
And it's not just a shooting slump. Like, he's making bad fouls. His shots he's taking are
bad decisions.
Yeah, he really is. Like,
I saw him take 2 shots, 3-point attempts that were
shots
right in the beginning of the shot clock.
Right.
He got away with 1 because he hit it, but the second one he did not. Both of those were ill-advised. Even though he hit the 3-point shot, it doesn't matter. You don't put the ball up at 7 seconds into the damn shot clock.
Yeah, I mean, there are circumstances that might lead itself to, for example, if Luke Goody had taken that same shot that he did, no one would have questioned it. Kind of a heat check. He's 4 out of 5. You kind of don't think about it. But Kanan Carlisle, to get yourself going, to get yourself started, is that to be one of your shots, generally doesn't work out that well. And I'll tell you, it's just something you learn. He's a young player. Experience-wise, he's got some experience, but I'll say when he's a senior, when he's the age of a senior in college, he'll understand better that some of those shots are not good shots. He probably doesn't quite understand it right now because he can make it.
Yeah, but he's a 23% shooter, and
totally,
he's not the guy.
I'm with you. He shouldn't be taking it. Like, I'm just saying he doesn't quite get it yet that those are bad shots. And let me say this again. Like, I'm not saying this like I don't think he's a valuable player. I think he's an extremely important piece of this team. He gives them another defensive dimension that's kind of tough and hard-nosed. And, I would say Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal are very good positional defenders. They're going to be in help side. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. But a guy like Rice and Carlisle, those guys are kind of in your face, pressure on the ball, annoy you, like out physical you, get up in you kind of defenders. And there's definitely a place where there's a huge value to having guys like that. And so he's a big piece to the team. He just is. I don't think he's playing very well.
Yeah, and it's now this is going to be a different style for. I don't know how long Malik Renew is going to be out, and allowing for this situation to go on as far as not having to worry about it. Because if you look at Evan Micaiah, does a great job he puts together stats on lineups and rotations, and he has everything broken down. You can see who is your best lineup, who is your worst lineup, and Indiana's best 2 lineups do not include Malik Renew and with Ballo. Obviously, one of them actually has Leal in it, which is a little surprising because he's not a scorer most of the time. He's a scrapper. When he's in his minutes, I'll give him. He scraps. He does whatever he can. I don't know that that's enough talent out there for Indiana to succeed in this Big Ten this year, but it's going to give them the best opportunity. I think the way this is going now.
Yeah, I think Leal is kind of putting himself in that position. and I'm just going to say it this way. He makes the right plays. And sometimes that's a pass that leads to a basket. Sometimes it's a defensive rotation and positioning. Watching his communication on the floor, where he's talking to the other players, every single time there's a free throw or a ball out of bounds or whatever it is, you can see him communicating. He understands, and this is going to come across negatively, and I really don't mean it that way. It's not intended to insult anyone, but I'll just say it this way. Anthony Leal's basketball IQ, in my opinion, is much higher than Mackenzie Mbako's basketball IQ. Mackenzie Mbako's physical talent way outweighs Anthony Leal's or most people's. But Anthony Leal brings a lot of value to the floor that's not going to show up on the stat sheet. And that is – it's not like hidden out there. It's very recognizable. I could walk you through film and show you his importance and the things that he brings to the table that never will show up in those stats you're talking about, except for it helps other guys. He makes everybody else on the floor better when he's on the floor. A lot of it's out of communication. A lot of it's out of him being an older head that knows where to be and how things are going to play out. And Anthony Leal's just a smart basketball player. And so it's usually not a bad thing to put smart basketball players on the floor. And so that's just something that I feel more comfortable when he is on the team. I wish he would look to score more. He is very capable at it. We all know he is a capable shooter. And I think if he gets his confidence going in scoring the basketball, I really think you're going to put Coach Woodson in a tough spot from the standpoint of he's tough to take off the floor when he's making those plays.
The one thing that I look at when it comes to Anthony is very, very surprising. While he's only put up 4 3-point shots all season. So he's not looking to shoot the ball.
He's not. It does surprise me.
But that's not what the most surprising thing is. The most surprising thing is I don't know how many he's attempted. So I don't know if that's up there. It probably is, but his free throw shooting is horrific.
Yeah.
He shoots 58% at the free throw line.
He missed one the other day. I actually commented on it when I was watching it. He missed one the other day that was almost wide right. And as a good shooter, I totally understand short and long. Like that's how good shooters miss, short and long. They very seldom miss right or left on a free throw. And he almost airballed it to the right. Like it caught the rim, but it hit the very right side of the rim. And it shocked me when it happened. But I will just say this, and I spent many, many years in this position at IU. And that is, it's hard to come in short stints and get fouled and go to the free throw line and make your free throws. I was always a pretty good free throw shooter, so I was pretty good at it. But it's not easy. It's hard to get yourself with feel and touch and those things. And shooters want repetition and to be able to get in a groove. And when you come in and, you shoot 2 free throws in a game or 2 free throws every 2 or 3 games, it's harder to get in a rhythm and but I'll put my chances on him. If we have free throws that need to be made, I'll put my chances on Anthony Leal to make them.
And this new look lineup for Indiana, I'll tell you, it should eventually bode well because you've got Mackenzie Mbako, who is not going to go 0 for 8 against Iowa or most teams. He's shooting over 39% from 3. You've got Trey Galloway, who's shooting over 39% from 3, and Luke Goody, who is shooting 38%. So you've got some very capable shooters out there on the floor now at the same time, and one guy in the middle who is a dominant player. That's the thing I've talked about with Renew. He's a tweener. He's not a 4. He's not athletic and quick enough to play the 4 or a good enough shooter to play the 4. He's also not big enough to dominate like Ballo can in the middle. So he's like a 4.5, which doesn't really, it's just, when he's on the floor at the same time with Ballo, it's a weird position. It's odd. That's why
and I've been saying this for ever since we signed Ballo, that I won't mind the lineup of Renew and Ballo on the floor at the same time, but I do think Renew needed to change his game a little bit and play more of a facing the basket kind of game, score more from 10 or 12 feet versus always having to back your man down and get to that left-handed hook and get in the lane, because the lane's full. Like, that's the problem with that situation, is you need spacing and to spread the floor. And one of the most difficult, that's why teams play zone, because it clogs up the middle. And when you're putting two guys that their main objective for them to score the basketball is to get within 2 feet of the rim and lay it in there, like, that's a lot of people in that area, and it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for guys to drive, and that's why I think it bogs down the offense a little bit, because everyone knows what Indiana is trying to do. The other team knows, the fans know, the coaching staffs know. Like, everyone knows when those two guys are on the floor together, they're attempting to throw the ball inside and score in the paint. And it's just easier to clog that up when you know what the other team's trying to do.
Absolutely. Todd Leary, the shop father from myjumpshot.com, is with us, and we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Indiana hits the road tomorrow to begin a very, very tough stretch of basketball. They'll travel to Iowa City to take on the Fighting Fran McCaffreys. We're back with more with the shot father right after this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this frigid Friday. A little snow may be expected here in the central Indiana area. another 4 inches potentially on top of the 9 or 10 that we already have. And this snow's not going anywhere anytime soon, Todd. It's going to stay cold, and it's just going to be a winter wonderland. It's so funny when we were kids. At least I know I was always begging for snow. Snow,
loved it.
Snow, come on.
Give me a snow.
Now
day.
it's
give me a
now
snow
it's
day.
like no snow,
please
no snow.
Yeah.
Yep. Indiana travels to Iowa City. You know as well as anybody. Just period going on the road. Period. In the conference, always dangerous. Iowa coming off of a win over Nebraska in which they had to climb back into the game. They're a team that likes to get up and down the floor. Not great defensively, but it's going to give Indiana a different look, especially from the other night. The other night was kind of a slow game, and USC doesn't really have much to offer. And Eric Musselman was pissed at Woodson about something. Yeah. I've not figured out what it was, because in the post-game presser, he was asked about it because he gave him kind of a blow-by in the handshake line. His response was, "I have no comment on that guy." So here, I'd be curious to find out what that was.
Isn't Musselman's dad an NBA guy?
I think so.
Yeah, and it's probably got something to do with crossing paths in the NBA. Would be my
someone
guess.
said that there's possible that this is a beef from a long time ago.
Yeah, who knows? Who cares? It's hard to tell. He acted like a child. I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't like him or not. He acted like a child.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he looks like a child. No offense,
he's an idiot.
but put him in a little put him in a little roadie in a little room. That would be funny. This is Fran McCaffrey asked about Umar Ballo.
He's a handful. The thing about him that I like is he plays with energy. He's a big wide body guys. A lot of those wide body guys don't. They play in spurts. He's been able to sustain effort, and he's skilled. He's not just a load in the post. He can pass, and he looks for his teammates. And that's really good for your offense. So it puts pressure on us. You got to do your work early, and you got to collectively defend them, not just worry about him, because they're the ones throwing it to him.
And this is going to be, kind of different for Iowa, but this lineup really seems to help Indiana in this game, because you got two bigs in there having to lumber up and down that floor the way Iowa gets up and down. I think it would be a little bit more difficult. This is going to give Indiana a much better opportunity. You've got shooters in there that can get in and get in the flow. And if you can get McKenzie Mbako and Luke Goody in a rhythm at the same time, Indiana could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, well, no doubt. But you also look at it when you talk about trying to defend Iowa, they're just a scary team because they have multiple guys that can get hot. They have 5 or 6 Luke Goody and McKenzie Mbakos. Indiana has guys that are capable of making shots. I think Trey Galloway would be in the category of he's capable of making threes. I don't think he would be typecast as a 3-point shooter, but he's capable of it. Kanan Carlisle's capable of it. Bryson Tucker's a great 17-foot shooter, not a terrific 3-point shooner, but
terrible.
He's capable of making it. He just is. It's not how you would describe him. There's 5 guys on Iowa that you will definitely describe as volume, high percentage 3-point shooters, and so that just gives them the opportunity. I think it's something close to this, but I watched their game the other night, and I'm not sure Peyton Sandford scored before halftime. I think he might have had 0, and he finished with 30. And he had 30 in the second half, which is one, putting up a lot of shots, but it's making a lot of shots. And they just have a bunch of guys that are very capable of scoring. I think the Dix guard is one of the most underrated guards, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. Like, he's a problem. Like, he's Peyton Sandford, I think, up till this year has gotten most of the notoriety on their team, but I think Josh Dix from now on is going to be known as their best player. And he's just a handful. Like Owen Freeman's awesome on the inside. I think he's a good big on there, but Iowa's a problem because they've just got multiple guys that can get hot and in a hurry.
And Indiana is going to have to deal with that. You mentioned Bryson Tucker and his 3-point shooting. That is something that shocks me. How bad of a 3-point. He is the absolute worst 3-point shooter on Indiana's team, and he's almost 3 times worse than Malik Renew. He's hit 1 of 15 attempts.
Yeah, you can tell he's not comfortable with it. You can tell it's not part of his game that he is super confident in right now. You can tell that. He's not a volume shooter. It's not like he's out there continually chucking them up. Taking 1 a game is not really, shooting too many of them. But I think we'll look back at that and look at the improvement that he will have over his career from the 3-point line. I think he is too good of a mid-range shooter to not be able to extend that range out. And he just needs a little help, little tweak. And hopefully, over time he'll get that at Indiana.
And it is also amazing that Carlisle, his shooting has just not been good.
I mean, I don't think people would describe him. I don't think, analysts or raters would describe him as a volume 3-point shooter. Like, he's capable of making it, and he's probably going to have nights when he gets pretty hot. But
his just overall shooting he's 27% on the year.
Takes bad shots. I mean, I think the very first thing Coach Woodson would respond if you brought that up to him is he would say it's a shot selection. Like he takes, I'll call them difficult shots. I think some coachings would call it bad shots.
I hate invoking like Bob Knight and stuff like that, but he went 1 for 7. I don't think he would have had that stat line if he was playing for a different coach, especially after he put up those 2 3-pointers.
Yeah, he would have not got the second 3-pointer up. Once that one, I mean that was one of Coach Knight's
even though it went in. I agree with you. Even though it went in.
Yeah, taking a bad shot is one of the. That was one of the pet peeves that Coach Knight had. Like he believed in his offense, and he believed that if you ran the offense effectively and set good screens and cut hard and got the ball where it was supposed to go, you were going to get a quality shot. And so someone that would take one before it got to that point, I'll just say it stuck in his craw a little bit, and he didn't like it.
Well, I get it because it stands out, and it stood out like. You're not the greatest shooter to begin with. You come in off the bench, so you're cold, and you start right into doing that. They've got to be smarter than that. Now, most of the time, you've got smarter players on the floor. Luckily for Indiana, Trey Galloway. I've not been thinking, oh, hey, he's greatest in the world or he's horrible. Just whatever. He's a weird dude in a way that. He's able to make stuff happen that you just wouldn't think would happen, but he's always like, oh, he just hit that little 5-foot floater. He just does some things that he shakes it up and he makes it harder on the defense. I don't. People may not think that, but if you watch him long enough, he just always. He had 11 points the other night, and he did it on scrapping and playing and just doing the things that Indiana needed him to do.
Yeah, so this is how I look at Trey Galloway. And first of all, I think I say this every time with him, but I've been friends with him and his family since he was in kindergarten. Our kids grew up in kind of the same age of playing basketball together. So I've always rooted for him and really liked him. I don't think, and I don't mean this negatively, but I don't think anyone would describe him as a great ball handler. I don't think anyone would describe him as incredibly athletic or fast or quick. I don't think they would describe him as an incredible athlete. He's a very good athlete, way better than me, like good athlete, but not elite. things I think you would put him in, just barely above average categories. But then you want to talk basketball IQ, and you put him in the top elite categories. He makes plays, he makes winning plays. When he makes a bad play, it really sticks out, and he does it. Every player does it. Every player makes bad plays from time to time, and when he does it, it sticks out. It's unusual. He doesn't generally make the wrong play or make bad plays, and I just same thing I've said about Anthony Leal. You're going to run out of spots before long with me saying this, but right now I think Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway are very difficult to take off the floor, and I don't think Coach Woodson is as comfortable with his team on the floor without Trey Galloway on the court, and that's a very positive position to be in as a player.
Well, and the numbers back what you just said up. Their best lineup, according to Evan Micaiah, includes both of those guys. And I'm shocked that it includes Anthony, not because other than would not have thought that would have been the most successful, but it is. And you're right. Both of those guys are kind of like having coaches on the floor. They're not going to generally make a mistake, which if you've got guys that aren't going to hurt you, even though if they're not doing something that's helping you, not hurting you is helping you.
No doubt about it. And when, you look at it and you have this big scheme and plan for what you think your team's going to be when you go into the season. And then, injuries happen, guys improve or play better. Some guys play worse. And so then it starts to shake itself out and get to the lineup that you think gives you the best chance to win. And I think Indiana is figuring out that this is the way I hope the injury to Malik Renew works out, is that when Malik is able to come back, he's able to change I hope he's watching this, seeing that facing the basket might be a little better way to go. Faster moves, quicker moves might be a better way for him to go. It might help the team out. If he wants to be on the floor and Ballo not on the floor, he has to pick up the rebounding that Ballo gets. Ballo, I said it last year with Kalel Ware. I said it for a million years with Trace Jackson Davis. Those guys get rebounds that other guys don't get. Like, they go get rebounds that, it just shows up as one rebound on the stat sheet, but it was at a rebound that most guys were not going to be able to get. Trace Jackson Davis, he was a great, tough rebound getter. Kalel Ware filled that gap incredibly last year. That's not Malik Renew's skill. He's not an elite rebounder, but that's what Ballo has given this team. They've lost nothing or very little in the rebounding department, and that's a huge gap that was filled. That, there's a lot of teams that get beat night in and night out because they get out rebounded. And I know I say it a lot on your show, but Ballo should get an enormous amount of the credit. He's worth a lot of the money that they give him from a rebounding perspective alone, because he shores that gap up for him. And it's a big gap. Like that was going to be a big deal for this team until they got him. And he's even a better rebounder than I thought he was.
Yeah, and they're going to need a lot of help. He's going to need a lot of help guarding Iowa and all of their shooters and getting up and down the floor. And that's going to be a tough place to go win tomorrow.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be, I thought Indiana did a good job taking control of the second half on the road at Penn State. Man, you just really hope that gives them some confidence, again, going on the road here this weekend. If Iowa shoots the ball well, I'm not just going to say this about Indiana. If Iowa shoots the ball well, they're going to beat pretty much whoever they play. Like, they're a team. If they outscore you, they're going to win. It sounds stupid, but I mean, they're going to try to outscore you. They're going to score points. If your offense isn't up to the task and able to score points at that same pace, you're going to get beat when you go into their gym. And they proved that against Nebraska last week or earlier this week. They did not play well in the first half, and Nebraska dominated that game in the first half. Iowa got hot in the second half and came back and won. And they beat a really good Nebraska team that was playing well. And it's tough to beat them for 40 minutes because they've got so many guys that can get hot.
Yeah, we've got to take a break, but no, that's not the one I was looking for. Actually, it's Hoping Jordan Bohannon is gone from Iowa.
Yeah,
what did he play,
kidding.
like 9 seasons for?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
At least. That's an underestimation.
Well, man, hey, and if you guys are missing the post-game shows, always know of a sponsor.
Yeah, find us one.
All you need,
we'll be
all
back.
you need is a sponsor or two, and
We'll be back.
it's right back. But we can't work for free; it's too hard. But appreciate you, brother, as always.
Enjoyed it.
Have a great weekend.
Week.
Todd
You
Leary
too.
joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got more coming up, and we're back with it. Zach Osterman right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bite, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday. I'm glad to have you along, no matter where or how you're listening on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call down in Evansville, or up in the region on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and over in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned right here. There's no reason to go anywhere else. Keep it locked. Or if you're following along on YouTube, make sure you've hit that subscribe, notifications, and the like button. Might as well, if you like us, say, hey, we like you. We appreciate it. It helps us immensely. And I never think of all this stuff. And I know because anything that's out on YouTube, our radio show goes out on YouTube as well as a podcast as well. But it's anything that's on YouTube, everybody is don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. yada yada. I know you get sick of hearing it, but it helps us, and we're grateful for you, and we appreciate it. Also, if you're a Twitter user, follow me on Twitter. Just get your phone out right now and at Jim Coyle ISB. Zach Osterman joining us here in a little bit from the Indy Star, and we'll talk more about Indiana's impending game in Iowa City tomorrow, because Indiana has to start locking up some wins. They're going to have to find some road wins, and not that Iowa's a good place to look for that. I mean, on the road, they're what I'd call a middle of the pack Big Ten team, but still tough place to play. A lot of these places are going to be tough places to play, without question. Last night alone, you had Oregon, who had been beaten the last couple times at home. They go on the road and beat a pretty good Ohio State team, who's now 2-3 in the Big Ten. Oregon now 3-2 in the Big Ten, but Ohio State 10-6 overall. Not having the start of the season that I was expecting from them, to be quite honest with you. So we'll see how that turns out for the Buckeyes. But Oregon, that helped them because they had taken a couple on the chin here recently. Washington, not good. Washington, Minnesota, Washington, Minnesota, and who's the other team I'm blanking on? USC. Those are going to be the three teams that do not make the Big Ten tournament this year. They're not good. Michigan State home takes care of them 88-54. Purdue goes on the road to Rutgers and pretty much handles it to them. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, the IU beat writer for the Indy Star. Zach, I was just talking about last night's Big Ten scores, and Purdue going to Rutgers. Rutgers is, boy, their season is kind of imploding a little bit, and they're 8-8 overall, 1-4 in the Big Ten. They get beat 68-50, and things are not going great for Rutgers, although they have a lot of talent. They were without Dylan Harper. I'm not sure if he's still out or not. That would obviously be a big blow to them. But how are things going with you? I know you got more snow coming maybe for the kiddos, so I'm sure it's like Christmas again for them.
Yeah, we're doing e-learning for the day, and I don't think we're going to get quite as much, but we're still going to get quite a bit in terms of, I think it's probably going to be a quiet night at home in the end.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm looking forward to a little bit of that. Indiana hits the road, a win over USC the other night. That was probably, I'm thinking this was the best team win they've had this year. And I say that because they were without Malik Renew, and in all essence, without Mackenzie Mbako, who just had a very bad night, 0-for-8, only played 15 minutes. So they had to pick up for him, but his teammates did that. Everyone seemed to chip in a lot of different ways. You got 9 points off the bench from Bryson Tucker, who had been in kind of a slump, but they're able to get past that. But they cannot go on the road to places like Iowa City and have Kanan Carlisle go 1-for-7 and Malik Renew 0-for-8 and expect to win those games, I don't think.
Well, no, I mean, listen, it's always going to be harder to win on the road. I'm looking at the box score up here. I mean, excuse me, the one thing I'd say is, like, this was part of the idea of this Indiana team, was that, at its best, it was supposed to be so talented and so skilled that anybody could have a night off and someone else would just sort of step into their shoes. Wednesday night, it's kind of a combination of like Luke Goody, Bryson Tucker, Trey Galloway and Miles Rice getting a little more offense than they got in the Penn State game, while still rebounding and assisting really well. Obviously, if you're Indiana, you need Mbako better at Iowa. And I think you need him better at Iowa in part because that's probably a game where he's going to have a little bit more of a physical mismatch. I mean, if you look at Iowa, Josh Dix is 6'6", Peyton Sanford is 6'8", but I don't know that you're talking about two players, and maybe this is just, I don't know, I might be being harsh on Iowa just because of the wider defensive frailty of the team, but I don't think you're talking about players that maybe have quite the sort of like the reach, the length to be able to not just, measure up close to McKenzie Mbako in terms of height, but I mean, USC is a very long team. All those guys are 6'5", 6'8", 6'10", tons
and
of
very
wings.
athletic, very quick and athletic.
Very athletic team. And obviously I know, listen, they're kind of raw, which is what you'd expect from a team that's basically brand new. Eric Musselman had to remake that whole roster. And so they're still clearly kind of working through some growing pains of their own. But that is kind of the profile of a team that might give someone like McKenzie Mbako a little more trouble when it's, when the front line is 6'7", 6'7", 6'10". Iowa just defensively as a team, frankly, and therefore I don't think it's unfair to say as individuals is just not that good, at the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, they're outstanding. Offensively, they are one of the most efficient teams in the country, albeit, they've been a little bit less efficient in Big Ten play, but like they're hitting more than 40% of their threes in Big Ten play. They're hitting more than 39% of their threes overall. This is about as extreme of a sort of Fran McCaffrey disparity as I can remember between, Fran seems to have always been better offensively than defensively, but I mean, this one feels like it's just kind of straight up, all offense, and going the other way, they really struggle. Again, if you want to look at their adjusted numbers in conference play, and they've played 4 conference games, so they've played a decent amount now. They are 17th in the conference on an adjusted basis. They're allowing more than 1.2 points per possession. This is not a team with a defensive profile that's going to have guys that can just lock up McKenzie Mbako the way that USC would. And by the way, if you want to go back to that same stat, USC through 3 games, not very small sample size, but a small sample size. USC through 3 games had the 3rd best adjusted efficiency in Big Ten games. So that's clearly translating at the defensive end of the floor in some ways for Eric Musselman, even while his team kind of figures itself out. Iowa doesn't have that. And so if you're Indiana, yes, you need a better McKenzie Mbako because of the matchup and the road environment. You also need, frankly, too, just a kind of a runway to sort of, we're starting to see Indiana build a little bit of consistency here, right? I mean, like, they've won 5 in a row. They've won 9 of 10. They haven't always looked great in doing it. Their worst games in this stretch that were wins are probably Chattanooga and Winthrop. You can frame it as okay, but they haven't really beaten that many quality teams. Penn State's probably their best win. Penn State's outside the KenPom top 50 right now. But you can also frame it as, this game was, or that Nebraska game was like tied, or maybe 1 point or a 1 point Nebraska lead at like the 7-minute mark, and then Indiana just kind of collapsed down the stretch. But you can also frame it as they won 9 of 10, and in that 10th they were competitive until they just really hit kind of a rocky spell at the end of the game. You need to start seeing more consistency. Iowa is, frankly, probably not as good of a team as Indiana, and there's an extent to which I think that needs to be reflected in Saturday's result.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough game, but it's also one of a number of tough games that are coming up for this Indiana team, both home and away, as this is probably the most critical stretch of the season for Indiana. But I hate to say this because it has nothing to do with Malik Reneau, specifically, but they're probably in a better position right now to win some of these games. If you're using Evan Micaiah's stats, Ballo and Gallo are one of the number one combination. Ballo Goody is the number two combination on that team. And it's by a large measure between them. So with Luke Goody shooting the ball so as well as he has been lately, if they can get Mackenzie Mbako back to what he's been doing, just having a bad game, and hopefully that's all that was, because he's shooting 39% on the season. He's not going to continue to miss like that. But that gives Indiana a weapon that they weren't using, because with Luke Goody is now getting extended minutes. So that makes a huge difference for him.
Yeah, I mean, Goody he had a stretch at the very beginning of the season over like 5 or 6 games where he shot 5 of 20 from 3. And that means that since then he's 22 of 51, which is 43.1%. So I mean, he's very much kind of the Luke Goody that has been such a good shooter across the course of his career. He's very much that player again. And again, like that, that 5 of 20 stretch, I think was the first 6 games of the season, which means over the last 10 games, he's shooting, like I said, better than 43% from 3. Listen, I mean, I wrote about this after the Southern Cal game. I don't think you can get away from how good Indiana looks with one big on the floor. And that does not mean bench Malik Renew. It does not mean you can't play Renew and Ballo together. Indiana certainly will play Renew and Ballo together. But I do think this should, if at all possible, shift some of Mike Woodson's thinking, give him food for thought while he's still waiting for Malik Renew to get healthy. And, we'll see if Renew is ready this weekend. He was in sweats on Wednesday night. He was walking with a clear limp, but he was, it wasn't like he was in a boot or on crutches or anything. As he waits for Renew to come back, I think it would be impossible for Mike Woodson to look at what Indiana's been able to do offensively, what it's gotten out of Luke Goody, what it's gotten out of its guards, what it's gotten out of Oumar Ballo, who has been, the last 3 games, Oumar Ballo is, I just wrote this down over here when I was writing on Wednesday night, 65 points, 33 rebounds, 7 blocks in Indiana's last 3 games for Oumar Ballo. It is impossible to look at some of these numbers and some of these performances and, feel like there is not some way to incorporate more one big basketball, even as you bring Malik Renew back, because this is the best version of Indiana we've seen all season.
And the numbers bear it out, and it's not close, to be honest with you. But you asked the question that I wanted to ask. I posted something the night before showing the numbers of the last 6 games. Now, that was before the USC game, but it was a clear divide. But here's what he had to say.
Mike, I recognize it's not by choice necessarily with Malik out, but does the success offensively of some of these lineups that only have kind of one player who is truly kind of a back-to-the-basket post player give you any food for thought with the way that a guy like Luke is shooting the ball, the space it gives your guards, things like that?
Well, it gives us better space, but make no mistake about it, Malik is a big part of what we do. So, he's not going anywhere.
Which I don't know how to take that answer other than, yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, listen, like, he's not going to sit Malik Renew down, and he shouldn't. Like, I mean,
no.
Malik Renew is still one of the best players on this team, one of the best post players, best post scorers in the Big Ten. The other thing I think that's worth saying is, and every coach is a little different with stuff like this, but like coaches will have conversations with players at various points, like through the off season and so forth. And there is an extent to which you kind of have to keep your word to your players. If you want them to trust you, if you want them to, play hard for you and put their faith in you, there is an extent to which you have to remember too that at some point along the way, Mike Woodson probably made some promises to Malik Renew. And I'm not talking about like, oh, you'll do this for NIL or whatever. I'm talking about like coaches have to have their athletes' trust. And to get that, they have to be able to show athletes that the athletes can trust them. And if Mike Woodson looked at Malik Renew and said, hey, sorry, you went out and turns out we're a better offensive team with one big on the floor. You're going to play 15 minutes a night. I think Malik Renew would probably feel like that trust was violated a little bit.
And I understand that, but isn't it more important to put the team's overall interest ahead of that?
That's where I think you find the balance. That's where I think that it's the job of the coach is, how do I pull it all together? Listen, here's the thing. I've seen a lot of people have said, why didn't Indiana try this sooner? Well, because necessity is the mother of invention. There's a reason why in sports we run into these kinds of stories all the time. When, somebody goes out, some injury causes someone else to rise up. I mean, this is kind of a silly example, but it is kind of the same thing. Why was Drew Bledsoe the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots and not Tom Brady? And Bledsoe was a really good quarterback. It wasn't Tom Brady. Well, couldn't everyone see that? Well, you can't just experiment all the time and hope that one time you run the perfect experiment, everything clicks right into place and it all works. Sometimes you have to be kind of pushed into a corner and just say, hey, we're going to try this because we don't have another choice to find something that works. Like I said, that is, another good example, a good Indiana specific example. People will remember, God, I guess it was 13 years ago now. Oh, good Lord. I'm very old, Jim. Indiana went up to Purdue for what, in the context of that season, was a big game for Indiana. That was the year that they beat Kentucky. They started that season 12-0. I think they were 15-1, and then they lost. They lost 5 of 7. They lost 3 in a row, including a real thumping loss at Ohio State. They beat Penn State and Iowa, two pretty bad teams that year at home. And they lost at Wisconsin, and they lost by double digits at Michigan. And it felt a little bit like that season was kind of stalling out after everything that had happened, in the Kentucky win and the Ohio State win and all this. And they went up to Purdue, and Verdell Jones didn't play in that game. And for some reason, KenPom, looking for the box score. KenPom doesn't have the box score other than like the team totals. But Indiana didn't have Verdell Jones. I think he had a shoulder injury. And they put Victor Oladipo on the ball. That was like Tom Crean's solution. And it was a revelation. And if Tom was here, maybe he'd say they were always planning to do that at some point. But in that moment, they did it because they needed Jordan Hulls off the ball so he could shoot it more. And they needed, somebody to initiate the offense. And Victor Oladipo gets on the ball, and Purdue just can't stay in front of him. And that game winds up defined in the end by Victor Oladipo's offense and how well Victor Oladipo plays offensively, initiates the offense, how Purdue just can't find anybody that can stay in front of him and guard him. And I bring that up, specifically to kind of talk about this situation where I would have some grace for Mike Woodson in terms of saying, why didn't you try this earlier? It's because sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just kind of have to persist and grow slowly, and then hope that in the moments when suddenly you need something because you don't have any other choice, that slow growth takes a spike. That's what I think we've seen a little bit of from Indiana here. Now the question is, how do you fold it all back together? How do you pull, Malik Renew back into this team while still getting a lot of the best out of what we've seen from, the guard play recently, what we've seen from Luke Goody recently. I mean, Goody's basically been, for all intents and purposes, Goody's been a starter for the last 3 games because in fact, I guess he did start. He started the Rutgers game too because Marbalo didn't start it, but he's been playing either Balo's minutes or Renew's minutes these last 3 games. He's got 31 points, but he's also got, it shouldn't kind of go unnoticed. He's also got 15 rebounds. At least if I'm doing my math right. Yeah, 15 or 16. Anyway, I can't add quick like that. He's playing really well, and not just because he's shooting the ball well. He's defending well. He's rebounding well. You're getting this sort of, again, necessity, the mother of invention, has gotten the best out of a lot of players these last 3 games against, admittedly, teams that are probably going to finish around the middle of the Big Ten or worse. But still, it has gotten something really meaningful out of these players these last 3 games. It's a coach's job to take that, and as he brings one of his best players back into the fold whenever Renew is healthy, whether it's Saturday night or sometime further in the future, find a way to sustain what Indiana is doing well while also adapting that player back in. And it probably requires a little bit of, to your point, a little bit of Malik Renew sort of sacrificing for the greater good. It also is probably going to require Indiana, as it's constituted without Malik Renew, sacrificing some things to keep to make sure that they're still getting something more out of Malik Renew, who remains one of, like I said, the best post players in the Big Ten. So, I mean, it's a fascinating question. It is sort of the proverbial good problem to have in some ways. And I think it comes at a fascinating time because, after Iowa, Iowa itself would be a quad 1 win. It's a road win. But after Iowa on Saturday night, you're playing a whole bunch of teams in the KenPom top 35. The only team after Iowa that isn't currently 32nd or better in KenPom that Indiana plays between January 14th and February 26th is Northwestern. And that Northwestern game's on the road. So even that's a different kind of challenge. It comes at an important juncture in the season, and it will be fascinating to watch how Indiana tries to navigate this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll certainly see. It's an opportunity for him. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, the IU insider for them. Appreciate you as always.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Zach Osterman. Enjoy your weekend. We've got more coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Jeffrey the Greek will join us, and we'll talk about the college football playoffs when we return. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. And Jeffrey the Greek from PaveDrain.com joins us now. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that could sure use the old Pave Drain system right now. Quickly explain what that is, Jeffrey, before we get into all that we're going to get into.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Jim. And yeah, Pave Drain is a big block system. It's a permeable block system. So you can use Pave Drain in non-heated situations.
What does that mean?
Basically, it's a permeable surface instead of a little pavers or anything like that. It's a big, beefy, sturdy block that has gaps in between each block as you set them in place on the ground.
Are we talking by 2 foot or something?
Foot by foot, six inches thick, just short of 6 inches thick. So it's about it's about a 60-pound block, right? And then it gets you prep the ground, potentially under a driveway. Oftentimes it's a parking lot. So stormwater, aka rain, falls on the Pave Drain system, permeates right into the ground, soaks right back into the ground as it has intended to do. Then we could put a little twist.
I thought this was just for like snow and stuff.
No,
rain and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason that I would focus on Pave Drain heated is most of the time that Pave Drain is going to be designed, it's going to be more of a commercial project where a municipality is going to utilize it in a parking lot or some sort of landowner to get the water permeated back into the ground instead of ponding it up or shipping it off the site and down to storm sewers. So that's primarily the use of Pave Drain, but it's fun to talk about and maybe more applicable to your audience, where we could take the exact same product and run piping right through the blocks so that the piping is right up close to the top of that Pave Drain block. So days like today, we had snow yesterday, today, tomorrow again. You would never have any snow accumulate. Nothing. You would turn the system on. Yep.
We got 10 inches and potentially 4 more coming.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
I'm in Minnesota here. You're way higher than us. We got a little bit of a dusting is all we have.
We got it's like lake effect snow. Just kidding. It's kind of like it used to be in the old days. But speaking of the old days, the game last night looked like an old-fashioned Big Ten fist fight the entire time. I'm like, wow, this is 1970s Ohio State and Michigan going at it. Watching Penn State do what they did in the first half, I'm like, they bulldozed Notre Dame. That's exactly what they just bulldozed down the field. I couldn't believe that in today's game of modern football, they were able to do what they did. And boy, they didn't miss a beat. But Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman goes into the locker room and said, all right, I'm tired of this crap. Go out there and kick that crap out of them, because it's exactly what Notre Dame did. They came out, they scored, but they looked different. Their defense was getting after it. They kind of shut Drew Allard down. They slowed that running game down somehow all of a sudden. Notre Dame's not big up front. They're fast, but they're quick. They're not big, but they're quick.
Yep. You nailed a lot of it right there. It's 10-3 at halftime. I had the under in this game, felt pretty good about it. I never feel overly confident for how crazy these college football games can go at the drop of a dime. And coincidentally, that's what I tweeted out at halftime, where I said, it's 10-3. Penn State has predominantly controlled this game, but these college football games have a tendency to turn on one play, turn very quickly. That's what we saw right away coming out of halftime. Marcus Freeman has all the respect in the world from me. Am I a Notre Dame fan? Absolutely not. I was proud to dislike them under Kelly and especially Charlie Weiss. But this Marcus Freeman guy is tough to dislike, right? I mean, and I'm sure Indiana fans, listening to this probably cringe as I say that, but I'm just trying to be honest in that they're so resilient. I mean, they were getting their butts kicked. There was Notre Dame bodies laying all over the floor in that first half of the field, excuse me. And then they do the same thing over and over again.
That was funny.
Yeah. They do the same thing over and over again, which is they lose players. I mean, they were losing guys on the offensive line. They've already lost guys on their defensive line and back seven. And every time this happens, Marcus Freeman and his players, they just dig down and they find something else. Like all of the, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star ratings, obviously talent matters. Obviously Notre Dame has talent, don't get me wrong. But in the end of the day, it comes down to how much you can get those guys in the locker room to believe in the game plan, that they can execute it and find a way to win. Notre Dame found a way to win last night. It should be more about what Marcus Freeman and that team have been able to figure out to do than crapping all over James Franklin. But this is the society we have now. That's what we tried to focus on last night, is just completely dismantling James Franklin. Overall, this was just a really good game. And unfortunately, only one team can win.
Yeah, and I was surprised, I'll tell you, that Notre Dame made the turnaround they did, because, boy, was that a momentum change. But it made it the great game that it was, one of the great games of the year, definitely the best game of the playoffs so far, even better than Texas and Arizona State, I think.
Okay.
I know that game went to 2 overtimes, but these were two gladiators going at it, man, and it was two big time programs, or as Kirk Herbstreit would like to say, brands, man. We didn't care about Alabama.
Right.
No, are you kidding me? And I'm like, that's not what the argument was, you jackleg. And that's the thing that bothers me. People want to just like sidestep what the real thing was and create that narrative or whatever. But,
for sure.
And you know how everybody was talking about how the playoffs were going to just destroy the bowl games, that they were going to become meaningless? Well, viewership is at an all-time high.
Yeah, the numbers are up. Yep. And they're going to, and essentially what the 4-letter network has done is they're doing a really good job of spacing these bowl games out as well as they possibly can. And what we're seeing is, we're seeing a marriage of these bowl games and the onset of gambling. I mean, that's what I think most of it is. People absolutely love to gamble on the crazy sport of college football because it's a blast, right? And
right, but I think there were a lot
less
opt-outs this season than there have been before.
Because they're getting paid, in all honesty.
But that wasn't stopping them like last year. But I think that I don't know if their NIL is now tied to it, which it absolutely should be. That your NIL is like, okay, you have to stay with the team until its completion.
Or just here's your bonus check if you go play one more college football game. I mean, it's that's essentially how things are set up.
I'd rather it tied to the end.
So do I. I'm with you there. I don't think
say, I'll get a bigger signing bonus. I don't need that
for sure. Check. And what I'm saying is we're still working through this thing right now. You know what I mean? Like it I believe it will get set up where it's more as time goes on, especially once we get the court ruling and everything. I believe it will be more set up to swing back in the favor of coaches and programs to put the players essentially under contract a little bit more so that because the funny thing is I have to kind of eat my own words in that NIL and to a certain degree the transfer portal, I mean, I guess they're kind of married together. It has given us a lot of what we're talking about now, a lot of people still watching the bowl games and the SEC getting knocked off their perch. I mean, we saw Shane Gillis, it was hilarious. He challenged the almighty Nick Saban a couple weeks ago, right before, the Indiana Notre Dame game. And what was he talking about? He was talking about what we're all saying, which is the SEC got to hoard up the talent because they were writing the checks under the table for 25 years.
And they want to ignore that, including Nick Saban.
Of course they do. Of course he does.
And the people, including James Franklin, that are calling for him to be the commissioner of college football is a horrible idea. Nick Saban is the quintessential brand biased guy. If you think he's not SEC biased, you're out of your freaking mind. Listen to how he talks. He does the same thing.
I'm not going to say he's not SEC biased. I would say this. I don't overall fault Nick Saban in that somebody was going to come along and master the system eventually. It happened to be Nick Saban. So I would give a shout out to Nick Saban in the fact that somebody had to do it. He was the one that took the time to do it and work that system amazing. But advancing it into the now, I mean, I don't know how realistic it would be that we'll get a commissioner at all, let alone that it's Nick Saban. But advancing to the now, we went into these playoffs really thinking, there was 5, 6, 7 teams that we think could win it. What's going to be interesting is how this game goes tonight, because I think a lot of people believe that, Ohio State has finally awoken. They are essentially, the Death Star right now, just destroying planets that are in their path. If that is the case, it's going to wind up being there is a team in the playoffs that was just head and shoulders above everybody else. That's essentially what we've seen the last 10 years. What's different about it this year, though, is that team, Ohio State, if that's how it plays out, I mean, they got to play the game tonight. If Ohio State does that, they would have never been in the position to do it under any of the previous systems. This 12-team system allowed them the chance to be the 8th seed and even be in the playoffs to begin with. It's just another facet of this ball team. Notre Dame would have been either. That's a great point.
Neither of the two teams that are playing for the champion, and that's why you have a playoff. The men's basketball championship, boy, you see. Now I know it's not the same, but it is on a smaller scale. There weren't big upsets, but these teams just would not have gotten the opportunity, and that's why it still aggravates me that Indiana was like the only team picked out that didn't belong, which is crap. They're not as good. Are they as good as Notre Dame? No. Are they especially as good as Notre Dame at Notre Dame? No. And that's being overlooked. Having to play a game at somebody's place, and this is not about Indiana.
Not by me. Not by the Eyes on Big podcast. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Talking about how, I mean, I have complained, on the podcast, on my Twitter account, on how annoying Sean McDonough was. Like, by the way, I think Greg McElroy does an amazing job calling these games, seeing the game through a quarterback's eyes and explaining it to the audience. I thought he did a great job last night. I felt like Sean McDonough could have had the opportunity last night, especially with Notre Dame still being in the game, playing against a Big Ten team, watching a really good, evenly matched up team, to say something along the lines of, wow, the ACC really struggled, or the Big Ten has been looking good in the playoffs. Of course, he does not take the high road and do that, because he should have essentially apologized for the just coarse, abhorrent take that he had versus the Big Ten, and especially versus Indiana in that Indiana Notre Dame game. But that's not where we're at now. People just spout things off. They move on. They don't have any kind of backlash or issues against it. I mean, I was going to say backlash. Herbie has definitely gotten backlash for the crazy things he has.
But then he responds by sidestepping, crab walking.
Of course. Yeah. He
got away with it.
He kind of. I mean, again, he had one trope of that the SEC bias. He threw that trope aside to just use another trope, which is that ESPN only wants big brands, which, I'm a Hawkeye fan. You're a Hoosier fan. we don't want to hear that. There's roughly 120 some college football programs and fans that don't want to hear that ESPN / the college football playoff really wants big brands. Like we don't want to hear that at all. That doesn't help our conspiracy theories and theorizing brains on when we see these teams playing in the playoffs.
My biggest aggravation with Kirk Herbstreit here of late is, and don't get me wrong, people, I'm a dog lover. I'm about to adopt a rescue dog. What's the deal with Kirk Herbstreit having to take his damn dog everywhere on TV, on the freaking field at a national semifinal game? Who in the hell gets to do that? First of all, who would want to do that? It's just dumb to me to have a freaking dog sitting outside of the damn end zone.
Well, it's not dumb. It's a strategy. It's dogs are put up into, again, I nothing against dogs, but they're put up into such a high standard that if you say anything about a dog, you are attacked on, Twitter.
That's why
he's doing it. That's why he's doing it. He knows that.
I wanted to tweet out, but I knew better. I'm like, God, I am not saying a damn thing about a dog.
There's been thousands of people complaining about it on Twitter, and millions of people complaining about it behind the scenes, about how this is obviously a PR ploy by Herbie. It's starting to backlash on him now with that as well. Herbie just needs to get back to being what he was at before, to be absolutely and a football fan of all forms of football. He used to just get me so excited for any big game because he would talk about the positivity on both sides for both teams, both programs. Now he's an SEC emotional sport dog. That's Brian S. That's fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of the Buckeyes, what are you thinking for tonight, Jim?
Well, we're going to take a break and come back, and that's what exactly we're going to talk about as the other side of the national championship waiting to be filled. The Ohio State Buckeyes, who everyone thinks is going to win, not so fast, my friend. They've got to play a Texas team who will probably have something to say about that. We're back with Jeffrey the Greek and more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday. It's a college football playoff night as the remaining side of the championship game lineup will be filled as the Ohio State Buckeyes take on the Texas Longhorns in Arlington at Jerry World. That's a little bit of an advantage for, even though the tickets are split, it's it has to be a little bit of an advantage, but Ohio State travels extremely well, and it's going to be loud on both sides regardless, because they were talking about how loud that was in the Orange Bowl last night in Miami. So I think, and that's an kind of an open air stadium. So I can imagine the Jerry World's so big. I don't know how loud it can really get in Jerry World.
Never been. I've heard it's quite the experience. They basically got a dusting of snow, and people thought they were, preparing for the Armageddon down there. So I think it looks like
what they should do. They should put a Buc-ee's next to Jerry World. Just kind of connect it.
There you go. I want you to speak for. I want you to speak for Hoosier World. Just all gambling aside, who are you cheering for tonight? Ohio State or Texas?
I try not to cheer, but if I were, I would go Big Ten. Partly because Texas is in the SEC, and I just love the SEC not getting knocked down a peg.
Yeah.
But I think Ohio State is playing better. Their offense has really come alive. Will Howard has come alive and has been playing well. Their defense is pretty damn good. They have a good running game. Texas has been good as well, but not to the same level. But that doesn't matter, because I thought Penn State was the better team last night, and I still think that they may be the better team. They just didn't win that game for whatever reason. But this game is it's not a walkover by any stretch of the imagination. And so, the SEC could still get in there. So you can't be popping up. I can't be popping up too much just yet. But it would be Ohio State.
Yeah, I would say, Tennessee was the third best team in the SEC. That's why they were the third team to get into the playoffs. Ohio State just walked all over them. It wasn't even a contest. And then the one of the two losses that Ohio State had in the regular season, Oregon and Michigan, they atoned for the first one by absolutely walking all over Oregon. So there's no doubt about it. Ohio State is
that was a beatdown. They absolutely exposed Oregon. In my opinion.
I don't know if exposed is the right word. I think they just I don't know who can beat Ohio State when they play like that. So they would expose everybody if they play like that.
I'll tell you who can beat Ohio State. Ohio State.
There you go. And that's just what I was going to say is because I think Ohio State beat Ohio State rivalry weekend when they played Michigan, right? It wasn't Michigan. Yes. It was Ohio State.
I have no idea what happened, but you are absolutely right. But they were it was like they weren't even there almost.
Yeah. And obviously since then it has awoken the I don't know if it's competitiveness or just, being aggressive is what I was trying to say. The play calling, you cannot tell me, has not been different offensively ever since that Michigan game. Ryan Day and Charles Edward Kelly are just absolutely lighting things up. Nobody can guard Jonathan Smith. It's absolutely Jeremiah Smith, excuse me. Nobody can get a hold of that guy right now, especially Oregon. The only thing I would say about tonight is that is it possible that the Ohio State DBs, namely corners, that fell asleep in that Oregon game the first time around when they played at Oregon, could they make a showing tonight and pop up where Texas can throw the ball down the field and touch them up? I'm not so sure if that's not Texas's only option tonight to light the scoreboard up versus this Ohio State defense and get points on the board. I don't think you're running downhill versus this Ohio State team unless you really feel like you can get your running backs into the second level. Texas's running backs are very slight. They are not the biggest guys, but if you can get them into the second level, they are slippery as heck. So I'm going to be curious to see, can Sark scheme up running plays to get those Texas running backs into the second level? If they can't get past that initial push on that Ohio State defensive line, which is what I think will happen, they're going to have to try to touch Ohio State up down the field on the outside. It's just that now they got to pass protect in order to do that. So that's the game in the game that I'm most curious about. I'm basically, I guess I already used that term, but conspiracy theorizing how Texas has to put enough points on this board to beat Ohio State.
And I don't want to go back just real quickly, though. Rudy the Boxer says Notre Dame had 4 defensive starters out of the game. I didn't realize they had that many out. And they were on a third string lineman.
Yeah. Basically, he was giving you a little bit of heat by saying,
I know that
Penn State was the better. I would push back on that a little bit and just say the better. That's a neutral field. Notre Dame found a way to win. Listen, Penn State controlled the game in the first half.
They played better. They played better in the second half.
And that's when you win or lose the game.
A little bit. I think that Marcus Freeman did an outstanding job keeping his team composed. And
I would say they were out executed. I think the game plan on both sides of the field was good enough last night to win the game. Drew Aller, unfortunately, I like the kid, but Drew Aller unfortunately wilted last night, and I mean they had that
tie game. 47 seconds left to go, and you have the ball. There's no way you lose that game, and they lose that game.
I would say,
but I don't want to.
There's no. I would say that. Yeah. Okay. All right. I would just one last thing. I would say you don't lose the game there. That's what I would say. You don't have to lose the game there. You could go try to win or lose the game by getting into the extra period. But anyways, switching it to tonight. Texas has really good dudes in the secondary. They got the Jim Thorpe Award winner in the secondary. Yet when I've watched their defense in some of these big games, I don't know, that hasn't looked like one of the most talented defenses in the country in those games. Now you're going against, I think a lot of people think is top to bottom, at least as far as skill positions, the hottest and most talented team in college football. We'll see. I mean, it's got to be a Texas defense that plays out of their shoes tonight, at least better than they have the last couple times they've been out there.
And Quinn Ewers is who may be on his way out. Who knows? It's crazy, man. So who do you have tonight? Ohio State.
I got Ohio State. I got Ohio State covering. I got 34 to 23. So I kind of like the game going over. I feel like this is going to have a big game, big points type of feel to it. So I like it going over. I like Ohio State to cover the most out of this game. I just wonder if Texas can score enough points to win the game, let alone cover the game.
And your Hawkeyes will host Indiana basketball on Saturday. That's going to be a tough game for Indiana. They one that they need to kind of win because you need to steal a road game here and there, but I don't know about that one. But man, it's going to be fun tonight. Cannot wait. And then can't wait to look forward to talking about the championship game set up next week.
Take a listen to the Eyes on Big podcast. And if you ever get a chance, go on the pavedrain.com website. You'll find me on there. And I can walk through the process with you real quick. And Jim, I always appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, brother. Presley, brought to you by pavedrain.com. Go check that out, people, especially the way things look right now. But throughout the year, we appreciate you. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. That's going to wrap it up for us on this Friday. A great week. Looking forward to a weekend where just not having to go anywhere. Indiana's on the road, so we'll be getting to watch a lot of sports and et cetera, et cetera. But big thanks to each and every one of you guys. Without you, we couldn't do it. And we'll be back on Monday to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.